Well, most songwriters definitely have heroes, people who impacted you, had early influence on you. Maybe they're still influencing. Not only the songs they wrote and performed themselves, but, even music that influenced them as well. So, and my bet is that those people who influenced you, a lot of these students haven't even heard about or maybe aren't familiar with. So, would you share some stories about some of the people who influenced you as a songwriter and why?
Well, excuse me, when I first started out, like I say, it was Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Donovan, and Judy Collins, Paul Simon, and Joni Mitchell. Paul Simon was a big influence on me because he was a very what's the word I'm looking for?
That prolific, or?
Well, he wasn't all that prolific, but he was a very adept, and he was a great finger picker.
Oh, yeah.
And I always admired that, and I always enjoyed the challenge of learning his songs because he made so much come out of the guitar, so much, and that's what I wanted to do. So Paul Simon was a real big influence on me, and you're probably familiar with Paul Simon, aren't you?
You guys heard of Paul Simon?
Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah. Okay.
Simon and Garfunkel. We need to have a talk. You're missing out. I'm telling you that the history of American folk music is something that's very profound. It's something that you need to at least know of and listen to and appreciate. But and of course, Townes Van Zandt, and I love Townes, and I never really wrote like Townes wrote because Townes had a real poetic way of juxtaposing words and images that was just all his own. But and Dave Van Ronk, he was a big influence on me. Actually got to meet him and open for him a couple of times and have him show me how to play a couple of songs I couldn't figure out. Back in the Greenwich Village, Dave Van Ronk was what they called the mayor of McDougal Street. And Bob Dylan, anybody know who Bob Dylan is? Okay, maybe half of them. We need to have a new course added to this university. I'll teach it. You need to know who Bob Dylan is. But anyway, as far as heroes go, or influences, I guess Paul Simon was a real big influence on me. Probably one of the biggest, and Dave Van Ronk, because he had a blues style finger picking that was his own unique style, and Paul Simon had his own unique style.
Did you write a song, or have you written a song that was that has Dave's finger picking or blues style in it?
Oh, no.
Or Paul Simon's finger picking style? Do you feel connected to a song that either of them inspired?
No. I'm sure they did inspire me to write, but I don't know a specific song or not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's another gentleman, Bill Neely, who was. Do you know who Bill Neely was?
I've heard, yes.
He was Kenneth Threadgill's guitar player.
Yes.
But Kenneth Threadgill, anybody know who Kenneth Threadgill was? He did He sang a lot of Jimmy Rogers songs. And but anyway, Bill Neely, he taught me a lot about playing. He played swing, kind of.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
You know.
Uh-huh.
And so he was kind of a mentor too. But heroes, I don't know. I'd say probably, you really used to like Paul Simon when they were together with the Garfunkel. When he was together with Garfunkel, when he went off on his own, I kind of, didn't really follow him.
Oh, man, I love his
And then he got into
entire catalog.
Yeah, and then he got into the big band, the African stuff. And
Yep.
Ry Cooder was another influence on me too.
Yeah.
But you just get to a point where you just start doing your own thing, and you're.
So it sounds like to me that you found your own voice really pretty early in your life.
Well, maybe my 40s, 30s or 40s, maybe. Yeah,
Huh.
maybe.
Interesting. You said you started playing guitar when you were 14, and you started performing in the 60s, but, so at what age did you start really writing? Did you know that you were a songwriter?
Probably when I was 16, and
In the misery in the walls and the street?
yeah, and leaving home and just the experiences. It's funny because what happens is when you're in my case anyway, when you start out in your 20s, you're experiencing so many things for the first time, and so the inspiration's just coming at you right and left, like like a scattergun, and it's just like, oh, I'm gonna write the whole, oh yeah, and but then when you get into your 30s, you've already done a bunch of stuff, and so the inspiration it's not the first time, see?
Right.
So that doing something for the first time, that inspiration is just immediate, and it's right there, and it's powerful. But after you've, get into your 30s, then you have to start maybe looking for a little inspiration, maybe reading or maybe listening to other songwriters or, and then I think it's when you start finding your own voice.
Okay.
In your 30s and 40s,
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do.
And
I
the
do.
more
That's a
stuff
very
you do,
interesting
and the more
perspective.
experiences you have, the more you sort of have to ferret out, no, I don't want to go there. I've already written that, or I've already, that doesn't inspire me anymore, And like I say, you look for inspiration or create inspirations or create characters, which is what I like to do,
So, is there a particular song, or could you think of one that is what you would consider your first keeper, or your first with your own voice? I mean, an early one.
An early one. Well, the first album, I made my first album in 1978. And it had a ballad on it. It had a funny song. It had a ballad. It had a love song. It had a song I wrote for my best friend. I don't know. I could try this ballad. I don't know. It's kind of a long song, but. This was Tim Henderson's favorite George Ensle song.
Oh, so George mentioned Tim Henderson, who has passed, very dear friend of Bill and I's, and another fine Texas songwriter. I don't know how Texas produces, kind of back to your question, how Texas produces such amazing songwriters like Tim Henderson, like George Ensle, like Townes Van Zandt, like Guy Clark. Just amazing.
Tim was from West Virginia.
Good point. Okay, I
But he
stand
was
corrected.
Texan.
But we call him, we
Yeah, he
claim
was so
him.
Texan.
Yeah, he was.
Actually, I'm not sure if this is the song that I played that won the Kerrville Folk Festival songwriting contest or not. I'm not sure if it is this. But I was in Colorado, and I was on tour up there, and I picked up a hitchhiker, and he told me the story, and there you go. I mean, it's like he gave me a good idea, and I just ran with it. And it's really funny because this Lindsay Hazley learned this song, and I'll give you a backstory on it after I'm done. If I ever get tuned. Beneath the steel gray winter sky, Adam Schofield's wagon rolled down a muddy street in Denver, his beard frozen in the snow. A simple man from a farming clan in the hills of Tennessee, driven by a cold desire for the gold that sets men stale smell of smoking whiskey filled the Crystal Cave saloon. Adam laid a boot upon the rail, his cold eyes searched the room. He saw the ancient red man who wore a crucifix of gold. He listened closely to the story the red man slowly told. Call it Devil's Mountain, the one that stands alone, that leaves the ones that come to claim him, crushed beneath the angry stone that holds a vein as wide as any man could ever hope to find. But an evil spirit walks the road that leads to the devil's mind. Not the kind of man for sharing, Adam chose to work alone. And with the laughter of a madman, he spoke of finding the miner's bones. They was fools to use those timbers. They was fools to think they'd hold. Adam showed the signs of sickness with a fever for the gold. Well, the word came with the thunder of a mighty avalanche, telling all the greedy seekers no man will stand a chance. When they reached the mine, they called Adam's name, but the empty wind replied, and the red man stood alone, holding his gold cross to the sky. They call it Devil's Mountain, the one that stands alone, that leaves the ones that come to claim him, crushed beneath the angry stone that holds a vein as wide as any man could ever hope to find. But an evil spirit walks the road that leads to the devil's mind. Now time will slowly change her mountain, but man will never rest. And in 33, the plans for the tunnel laid on Bob Jude's desk by a note that came from a medicine man to warn him of his fate. But Jude's faith lay in calculations, they never lie, they cannot wait. And the smile of Satan crossed Jude's face when that mountain pulled in sight. He said, this time cold steel and concrete and blasting dynamite will surely tame that mountain. We're bound to pave a faster way. And the reservation braves watched from a hill just far enough away. The headlines were the kind that leave a man's blood running cold. 200 killed in cave-in after finding vein of gold. The picture made that mountain look like an angry red man's face. And the scars that marked the conquering were gone without a trace. They call it Devil's Mountain, the one that stands alone, that leaves the ones that come to claim him crushed beneath the angry stone that holds a vein as wide as any man could ever hope to find. But an evil spirit walks the road that leads to the devil's mind. Now a red road winds down Devil's Canyon. There's no marker and there's no sign. And I asked the hitchhiking Indian boy about the devil's mine. Showed me the golden crucifix his great-grandfather wore, made of Spanish gold, found on the path that led to the devil's door. Wide as any man could ever hope to find. But an evil spirit walks the road that leads to the devil's mind. It's an evil spirit that walks the road that leads to the devil's mind.